Next on Worcester News Tonight, could Worcester see a heat wave? Today's hot temperatures making it difficult for people working outside. Plus, a public hearing on the Pawtucket Red Sox move to Worcester tonight. Community members voicing their opinion on the project. Good evening again. Thanks for joining us. I'm Anna Botari. The city holds the first of two public meetings on the proposed ballpark in the Canal District. Community members had a chance to weigh in on the project tonight. Our Rosalind Flaherty was there and joins us now live with more. Rosalind?
Anna, this was an opportunity for people to share their thoughts and for the people behind the project to share more details and how it will pay for itself. A large crowd turns out to voice their opinions with city leaders and the Pawtucket Red Sox about the proposed ballpark in the Canal District.
I'd just like to see the city of Worcester start bringing the work back home for our guys.
We have waited decades for an opportunity in a project like this.
Dozens of the people in attendance at the Crompton Collective were from the Worcester Community Labor Coalition. They say they support the project but would like to see local people getting the construction jobs.
We've seen a lot of projects come to the city with out-of-state contractors, out-of-state developers. Local people didn't get opportunities on the job.
The project promises to create more than 500 full-time and 2,000 part-time jobs, both in construction and non-construction positions. Arthur Cohen represented Titan Roofing. He says the Harding Street business just completed work on MGM Springfield and says local workers are right for the job.
Hopefully it goes Union's way and the residents of the Worcester area will be able to contribute to a project of this magnitude in their own backyard.
Others have concerns about the neighborhood. Lorraine Laurie has lived in the Green Island area for 68 years and says she's worried about the flooding and also wants to see a pharmacy and a bank go into the planning.
You get 1 inch of rain, Quincy Gave's flooded, Ellsworth and Bigelow, Siegel and Bigelow, the pool twice at Crompton Park got flooded and had to be cleaned.
PawSox President Charles Steinberg says everyone has a seat at the planning table and looks forward to getting more feedback from the public.
That's important to us. We don't own the market on ideas. What we like to do is invite people to come and bring their ideas.
Now again, this was the first of two meetings. The second meeting will be on September 5th. Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
It was a hot day in the city with temperatures in the 90s. The National Weather Service has issued a heat advisory which runs until 9 p.m. tomorrow night. The Worcester Division of Public Health is advising people to take precautions in the heat. Medical Director Dr. Michael Hirsch says people need to be sensible about keeping cool as much as they can and not overexerting themselves. His advice includes staying indoors and, if at all possible, staying in air-conditioned space, wear lightweight, light-colored, loose-fitting clothing, and try to restrict activities in the hottest part of the day.
We should try not to, take that long run like we used to maybe at lunchtime. Instead, you're going to chill out and have a cold drink. We don't really want people to strain their systems with a lot of activity unless they're super in shape, very well hydrated.
Dr. Hirsch also says to check up on elderly neighbors. He says the cooling centers are not open, but public buildings like the Worcester Public Library will be. 12 monuments and memorials, a majority of which are dedicated to veterans, are receiving renovations in Worcester. The city will spend about $80,000 to restore them. Some have not been touched since they were put up or dedicated. City Manager Edward Augustus says it's part of their responsibility as a city government to maintain the memorials and to make sure they continue to play the role they were intended to.
Which is communicating something to the community and to the world about what is important to us as a city, who are important to us, what we honor. I think it reflects a lot on the city.
Mo Bergman says we owe an obligation to our veterans.
Things happen over 100 years' time, so we have to continue to maintain it so that those monuments continue to tell the story of what war was all about and the heroic efforts the residents of Worcester made in participating in the wars.
Bergman says this is a prioritized list of monuments and memorials which need to be fixed soon. Selectmen in Charlton voting tonight to delay a town vote on placing restrictions on recreational marijuana businesses until next spring. Dozens of people attended the meeting to voice their concerns about being denied a right to vote the cannabis project planned on an apple orchard on Old Worcester Road. Selectmen voted 4-1 to delay a vote until the May town election. At a special town meeting on August 1st, residents voted overwhelmingly to ban recreational marijuana establishments in town. They say the next step is to allow citizens to vote on the ban. Some residents wanted to vote on the matter in November, but selectmen said they couldn't get it on the ballot in time. Powwow Worcester is returning for its third year with more murals and art installations from local and international artists. The three-day festival is expected to attract more than 10,000 people to the city. In 2017, Powwow Worcester put up 42 murals, 30 of them were on the public schools buildings. This year, they'll be painting 30 new murals on 5 Worcester public schools, downtown locations, and some other installation. Director Lisa Drexage says their passion is to expose art to the entire city.
First year, it just really made people realize that they could get out in the city and explore it and just view it in a different way. The other thing that I think people like about Powwow Worcester is we bring art, really world-class art, out into the community.
This year's festival comes to Worcester on Friday, August 31st and runs through Sunday, September 9th. State health officials in Massachusetts have raised the threat level from West Nile from moderate to high in 11 communities in the greater Boston area. This comes after a woman in her 50s was diagnosed with the illness, the 4th human case in Massachusetts just this year. At least 2 of the 4 infected people were exposed to the virus in the greater Boston area. Meanwhile, the threat level in Worcester remains at moderate. Worcester Regional Airport adding a 3rd major airline and a new destination. 1 year from now, Delta Airlines will offer round-trip flights to Detroit. City leaders say Tuesday's announcement is just another sign of the direction Worcester is moving in. Our Chandler Walsh has the details.
Motown music and applause. Massport celebrates a new connection to Detroit. Daily Delta flights are coming to Worcester Regional Airport next August.
I just can't believe how wonderful this continuing news is. It hasn't slowed down. It just seems to be happening at a faster rate.
This is the airport's 3rd destination announcement in the last year and a half. The Detroit flights will connect business and leisure travelers to 134 destinations.
Now to connect to Detroit, that takes them to markets in Asia, to Canada, and to other places further west in our country.
It also means another major airline is setting up a ticket counter in Worcester. Congressman Jim McGovern has advocated for the airport's growth and recalls a time people had given up hope.
A lot of people who said, let's turn it into a casino, let's turn it into housing development, let's demolish it. And I'm glad those naysayers didn't prevail.
Massport has invested more than $100 million into the airport in the past 10 years with the Cat 3 landing system and infrastructure and runway improvements. Chairman Lou Evangelitis says it's bringing more momentum and opportunities like the Delta flights.
We've had studies that show over $369 million in economic activity will come out of this airport in the next 10 years.
As for the future, Airport Director Andy Davis says he has a vision for Worcester Regional Airport to become a reliever for Logan Airport. Davis says the airport sees more than 100,000 travelers each year, but can accommodate more than 300,000.
The demand grows at all the airports, and aviation travel is growing both on the commercial side and general aviation side. So we've got room to grow here.
Chandler Walsh, Worcester News Tonight.
The announcement in Worcester is just one of the last official duties of Massport CEO Thomas Glynn. He announced this month he would be stepping down after 6 years with Massport. He says highlights of his time include the international flight growth, the Worcester Airport Initiative, the Working Port of Boston Revitalization, and the Omni Hotel Diversity Initiative. He says all the projects were risky but successful. Glynn says he's looking forward to his next adventure.
I've been looking at some teaching opportunities. I was teaching right before I took the Massport job, so I might return to that, which I had a lot of fun doing that, but when the governor asked me to take on Massport, I figured that was kind of an important thing to do.
Glynn will turn things over to Worcester's own John Prankavicius, who will serve as acting CEO in November. Some Worcester Public High School students could be going to college with a full ride. The Great Minds Scholar Program at WPI will help close the financial gap for any Pell-eligible students who may not be able to afford college even after receiving other aid and scholarships. The grant will be awarded to up to 10 students and also provide a housing stipend to encourage students to live on campus.
It's also a comprehensive program of support to the students and to the families. Many of these students will inevitably be first generation, so they will be trailblazers and may appreciate opportunities to have faculty mentors and upper-class students advise them through their 4 years.
WPI plans to expand the program to other areas across the country with an ultimate goal of providing scholarships for up to 50 students each year. Senate candidate John Kingston out on the campaign trail Tuesday, reminding people to get out and vote in the state's primary next week. The Republican businessman founded the group Better for America. It aimed to support a third-party presidential candidate against President Trump in the 2016 election. Kingston says if elected, one of the first issues he would tackle is term limits. He says some politicians stay in office for too long.
Bring a not necessarily Democratic solutions, not necessarily Republican solutions, but American solutions to all of our problems. And when you reform Washington, it's going to be better for the people of Massachusetts, better for the people of Worcester County, and just better for the entire country.
Kingston is running against Republicans Jeff Dial and Beth Lindstrom in Tuesday's primary election.